Kim Johnson, and I was up there just today, and I was missing you every step of the way. I had the privilege of working with her when I was the Chief Strategy Officer for the House Democratic Caucus for about a year last year, helping with redistricting and the budgeting process and creating a strategy for our legislators up there. But let me go back a little bit. I am the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party's Black Caucus, and I'm running for chair of the state party. When everybody asks me why, I start off with stories like what happened right here. In 2022, we lost 55% of our black women in the state House of Representatives. Go back another year, in 2021, we lost over 30 local Democratic incumbents in blue cities and in blue districts to MAGA Republicans. Then we go back a little bit further. In 2020, we lost 3 Democratic state senators. And once you add in the county council seats we lost, when you add in the mayor seats we lost, and the school board seats we lost, since 2021, we've lost over 60 Democratic incumbents around this state. And there are folks that say we're going in the right direction, we're just not executing. Well, if this is the right direction, get me off this boat. Because this thing is headed for an iceberg. And when the Republicans have a supermajority in our state house, that means that all of the Democrats in the state House of Representatives can leave. And the Republicans can have business as usual. Now, what does that mean for us? I explained to folks that when Democrats lose elections, it's more than what happens on that election day. When Democrats lose elections, more children go to bed hungry. When Democrats lose elections, more women wake up with less rights than what their grandparents had. When Democrats lose elections, our county parties, our rural communities lose resources, they lose help, and they lose hope. And when you lose hope, that is a dangerous, dangerous thing. And when we see Republicans taking over our school boards, they're casting out our black superintendents. They're casting out our books that teach about our history, our contribution. They teach about our legacy, folks who are making history and making change. That's what is at stake here. And when our party is not strong enough and structured enough to have the framework for Democrats to win, we are on the verge of being obsolete. And let me tell you a little bit before I get all the way up on my soapbox. You know, when I became the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party's Black Caucus, I got a list of about 50 people who were members. And in just a year and a half, I took that caucus from being about 50 members on paper to now 250 active members and over 900 people that signed up to join our caucus. You there, you know. And this is how I did it. I didn't do it by staying inside of our little bubble and talking to the choir. I did it by going outside of that bubble, going to the grassroots, going to the young folks, going to the people who don't even want to associate with the Democratic label, but they're fighting for the Democratic issues. Those young people who might be saying, I want reparations. Those families who want to say, I want my children to have quality education. These folks who are working in hotels they can't afford to sleep in and working at restaurants they can't afford to eat in. I'm going to those people and saying, how can I work with you to help you advance the issues that you care about? How can we work together to amplify what you're doing? And before you know it, we're working together on those issues. And they are becoming some of the best Democrats I've met. And these are the same people who didn't want to call themselves a Democrat. And now my caucus, over 40% of my caucus is under the age of 40. And it didn't happen. We registered 30,000. But then when we looked at our numbers, we also registered 60,000 black women. And to date, my organization has registered over 200,000 young black men and women across the South and mobilized over 1 million across North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. I'm using the same principles that Abe Jenkins taught me back in 2010. When I took over the caucus, we started focusing in on these local races that we had lost. In a year and a half, we flipped 5 of those seats back to Democrats because of this black caucus. How? We went back to the grassroots. My first year as the chair, no caucus had ever raised more. Alicia, how much money I live? But it's the principle and the value that I carry forward. And I'm humbly asking for your support. You won't see me zooming into these meetings because I believe, especially in our rural communities, that our rural communities deserve the leadership of this party to have boots on the ground, Amen. To understand what's happening and to work with you to create the solutions to move forward together. And I'd love to take any of your questions that you may have. I know I was a little long-winded, Madam Chair, but I just appreciate this opportunity, especially since I won't be able to talk to y'all before the convention. But I'd love to take any questions and answer some that y'all may have asked Crystal before.
Any questions?
Can you tell them about our plan, how to incorporate the Hispanic community to come in and actually do our part too?
Yeah. So she was talking about the Hispanic community. The Hispanic community is very important. I'm a numbers guy. If y'all remember Obama, it was all about the metrics, right? One thing I didn't say, I worked with the House Majority PAC under Nancy Pelosi last year to save 2 seats, Abigail Spanberg in Virginia and Don Davis over in North Carolina. 2 seats that were in high, vulnerable states. And we had to go down to the micro data, the micro targeting to figure out how to win those races. The same way I was able to flip that seat in Georgetown, going down to the micro data, figuring out where people are, what drives them, and then creating the strategy and the tactics to actually connect with them and move them out. Here in South Carolina, Hispanics make up 6% of the population, of the voting population, but they only make up 0.9% of the vote. So when we talk about opportunity, that's a huge opportunity. Imagine if we got our Hispanic brothers and sisters to vote at their population strength. We've seen where we lost races by 4 and 5%. Now imagine if we add that 6% Hispanics to the number, and then we get our brothers up and get them voting at the same rate as our black sisters. This state, it may be run by Republicans, but it is a purple state. We're just not taking advantage of it and grooming and churning at the grassroots to get these folks out. Yes. Can she go first, sir? Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking my same question.
Yes, ma'am.
What are your plans to promote South Carolina as the new first in the nation Democratic primary?
Yes, ma'am. And here's the thing. With the first in the nation primary, it gives us an opportunity to build our party. It's the same thing that we were excited about 20 years ago almost when we became first in the South. That is an opportunity to build your party, to bring those resources in, invest them at your county level and at your headquarters level so that you can have the infrastructure to get more Democrats elected in the state, right? So what I'm looking to do is build that infrastructure, working with our county parties so that we can take advantage of the attention. Because if y'all noticed during this last presidential cycle, there was a burning trash heap over in Hampton County. One of the presidential candidates went over there with a couple news cameras and a couple stories, and within 90 days, that trash heap was gone. It was putting arsenic in the air. for over, I think 3 years, it was burning without any solution. That type of stuff helps us being first in the nation and taking advantage. Also, our counties have the opportunity to do just what Hampton did. Display your talents and your resources, but also display the issues that you need to be addressed and get them on the platform of these candidates. I've already sat down with one person who's thinking about running for president next year, and I'm sitting down with another one next week. I'm already talking to them to say, these are the issues, and this is what we need to hear from you as a candidate that wants to become our next president, to speak to our needs as a black community. It's a very important opportunity. We can't miss it. And the last thing, we always talk about money. We got to make sure we're ready to raise money from the grassroots up, county parties, working with the county parties to have events to attract these candidates to come here and sponsor and invest in the counties. But we also have to realize that our party is like a race car. And the fuel for that race car is the money. But if that race car doesn't have tires on it, no amount of fuel can get it to win the race. So we got to rebuild, get those tires back on there, and rebuild this infrastructure so we can take advantage of it all.